All right, so I'm here at the Foildrive booth at the AWSI show with Paul, the CEO of Foildrive, co-founder. So Paul, tell me, we were watching you guys before the trade show at the hatchery, getting some downwinders and stuff like that. And so actually, let's start with that. Like, talk a little bit about, it looks kind of challenging to go into the wind when it's really windy, right? So like, what's the technique, and how does it work with the foil, and like, how do you set it up to do that?
Yeah, I mean, well, I was riding this particular board at the time, and or one of many actually. But yeah, you just sort of keep the nose as flat as you can, because obviously the wind is so strong, and keep the power on if you're on your belly. But it's actually easier to get on foil going downwind, turn 180 degrees, and then foil upwind, just keeping the board off the top of the surface and sort of terrain hugging over the waves. Go up as far as you can, then turn back into the swell and do another downwind run. We call them ups and downs.
Yeah, and I guess the hatchery kind of works because there's that little flat section on the inside that's a little bit less choppy. Yeah. But you can see how you guys had to really kind of go up and down with the swells. You have to, like, once you get to the top, you really have to push it back down again to not pop out. Yeah.
We did a few shuttle runs as well, so that was good fun as well.
And then I guess once you're up on foil, I guess it's important to kind of stay high enough, so try to avoid touching down or having the motor in the water, right?
You can put the motor in and out of the water as much as you like, but the whole concept of Foildrive is to use the motor to give you the push and the thrust to get going at a high enough speed that you can pop up and get on foil. And then really you want to shut the motor down, the propellers fold back, and then you can just free foil on just a pure mast and wing. And that's actually the goal of Foildrive, is to actually turn off and then do nothing. That's actually, when it's achieved, its main goal, which is get you into foiling and enjoy that purest feeling of just shredding turns and having fun. So, but then if you are coming off foil, or you hit a fat section, or you just get it wrong, there's no consequence. You just put the pod back into the water, hit the trigger, boost straight back up, get back on foil, and the fun continues. So
So I had an earlier version of it where the box has a little antenna inside, and then sometimes if you have a small board and the thing's underwater, it doesn't connect well, or disconnects and stuff. So have you made any improvements on that? Like so let's talk a little bit about the equipment. You got a lot of the cool new stuff out here. Like this apple tree board here has a recess in the bottom to fit, basically make the whole Foildrive system more aerodynamic, I guess, or hydrodynamic.
Yeah, I mean the main unit obviously normally sits on top of, the board sits on top of the main unit.
Right.
So this is a completely independent part. As you can see on that unifoil board over there, it's just sitting on top.
Right.
But there is, we're working with brands right now where they're making a trenched variant, where you've obviously have this nice trench in the board, so you can flip it up and you can put it in, and the actual unit sits flush to the surface of the board. So you don't have to do that. It's just, in the world of foiling, we're always looking at innovation and making things even better and better. But effectively,
makes sense.
That flips up and goes, and the signal quality on Gen 2 is even higher again. So we spent a lot of time and money developing a really high gain antenna, and I can motor most of these boards completely under the water, like a submarine.
So where is the antenna located?
The antenna is actually
inside the unit.
In the main unit,
Okay.
And it's,
but it basically penetrates the water, basically the signal. Okay.
And it's tuned to the actual aluminium housing, so it actually becomes an antenna.
Okay.
Effectively. And then we do have external antenna systems that if you really want super high antenna quality, there's a passive patch antenna that the box sits on top. There's just a little cable that comes off with a little disc on the end, and you can mount that anywhere, and you get increased antenna quality as well, if you need it. But very few boards do.
And then I guess another innovation that you guys are working on is kind of integrating the cable, the power cable into the mast.
Yeah.
And then even like this Axis mast has a integrated motor mount in it, so that's pretty cool.
So this has been released at the show. It's actually a full carbon mast. So this mast is actually laid up in a mold, and then the Foildrive motor is then mounted and grafted to it. So what you end up with is just like world-class stiff, high-quality, high-modulus mast, fully integrated seamlessly with the Foildrive motor system. And then this entire mast can bolt to any Gen 2 unit and off you go and use it. So it's just more optimization of trying to find better and better drag coefficients and smoother ride feels and that sort of stuff. But we obviously have quite an extensive range of aluminium masts that are doing the same thing. The cable goes inside the mast and out the top, but the next step is doing full carbon layups as well.
Lower drag, but I guess the disadvantage is that then you can't just take off the motor and use it as a regular foil, right? Like as a non-motorized foil.
For sure. I mean,
but yeah, if you
the reality is no one's going to be buying this if they want to do regular foiling.
Right. Yeah, it's like a dedicated foil.
Well, once you
drive
get used to foil driving, it's hard to give it up. You know, it's definitely a different discipline. So the gear is specifically designed for that.
Yeah. So let's have a look at these masts, maybe at the different mast setups that you guys offering the integrated wires for. So this is where the wire runs outside of the mast and it's just taped to the mast.
Felt so much more.
But I guess to make it more hydrodynamic, you guys developed the wires to go inside the mast, right?
Yeah, I mean the standard way of doing it is you have the cable that's external, but it means you can mount it to anything. So it gives you ultimate flexibility and you can move the cable and the motor up and down the mast. But at the 2024 AWSI, we've released the new version 2 motor where the puck comes off the front and the motor cable actually comes out of the fascia of the motor. So you can just change independently the cable length now. So you could have the motor mounted here, or later in the afternoon you can pull this off and then you can mount the motor all the way at the base of the mast and go e-foil.
Yeah, have it e-foil then, yeah.
There's those two options, but then the integrated mast system is for just that next level of hydrodynamic optimization.
So let's have a look at those integrated masts.
So effectively we're dealing with the same thing, but we're working with brands to take their masts, redesign the base plate system, and then they're sent to us in Australia and we physically manufacture our motor system into that mast. And then it becomes an integrated, powered by Foildrive mast. So
most of these have a cavity inside it anyway, and then so you run the cable through it and have the hole where it comes out into
they do, but there's some modifications needed specific for what we want to do.
Okay.
But effectively, like if you looked at this F1, it's a very different shape and profile to the North, but it's the same end outcome. You end up with a base plate with the wiring mechanism inside and the joins, and our OEM custom plug system that plugs into the Foildrive. But there's more and more brands getting on board with Foildrive as a collaborative thing. So you've obviously got North and No Limits, F1, Unifoil, Slingshot, Axis, Cedrus, No Limits, and there's a few others that aren't here, AK. I think I got all of them there, but there's more joining.
And then I guess No Limits or Cedrus, you can also get the adapters for different foils if you have one of those masts, right?
And there's more and more brands making adapters for other people's masts as well. So there's a lot of choice.
So that's pretty cool. So then that mast would be a dedicated mast, and you can't really change the height of the where you attach it, right?
So personally, I ride an 85, but I have the motor set at 20, and I pretty much do everything on that.
And that's kind of what you found is the optimal distance is 20 centimeters?
With an 85 centimeter mast, I think 20 is great because it makes it really easy to hybrid foil back out through waves, as you saw at the hatchery. It's easier to keep the motor submerged. Sometimes running it at 15 is better for certain surf conditions. That's a 15 there.
Or downwinding,
higher, downwinding. But really, I mean, you just get used to riding 5 centimeters higher. Right. And look how much mast there is to use. There's plenty. So, and if the pod dips in and out, it doesn't really matter. It is quite a bit smoother and more hydrodynamic when there's no cable. So you can barely even tell if the pod's in the water or not.
Okay.
which is hard to believe, I know, but you can't.
No, I mean,
so.
I've seen it. Yeah, like, I mean, so especially the better riders seem to make it look like it's no problem at all,
Yeah.
right? So yeah.
And they would be the first to complain if it didn't feel good.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the base, the controller, and the battery and the base plate. Like, so how does that work and how
Sure.
is it set up?
Effectively, you have the main unit where all the electronics and hardware is built into it. This is actually machined out of a billet block of aluminium, 2 parts.
CNC. Yeah.
CNC'd, everyone is CNC'd. It's not a cheap cast product. We actually make everything out of billet. Even the propellers are 5-axis milled out of aluminium.
Oh, these are sharp blades, huh?
Yeah, everything in foiling sharp.
Yeah.
Sharp
Yeah.
masts, sharp wings, sharp tails, sharp fuselage. Like,
Yeah.
I think we all understand that by now.
And the having 3 propellers makes it more efficient than 2 propellers.
3 propellers gives you more torque, lower end push. 2 propellers gives you slightly higher top end speed. Majority of people run the 3-blade because they want to run smaller boards, smaller wings, have more torque to get out of the water
going
quicker.
first, yeah.
But you've got an option, you just change this plastic part and you can run either or.
Okay.
And then the battery system is super easy to replace. You just 2 latches, nose cone comes off, slide a new battery in, nose cone back on. That's it.
And then you have different battery sizes and you just have a longer front
Yeah,
part.
so this is the biggest nose cone for the longest battery.
Yeah.
And then there's a nose cone that's about that short for the slightly smaller battery.
Yeah.
So we have the ability to really tune what weight category you want to go for, what run time and power and all that sort of stuff.
And then basically the foil just mounts through, right through this, right? The foil screws mount through that into the board, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
So
you just have longer screws.
you can literally, if you've got an integrated mast which comes with these extra holes in the base plate, they all come with this. You can bolt the mast to the box and then you can pick the entire unit up, put it on your board, 4 bolts in and you're ready to foil. There's no additional setup required. You can literally mount your Gen 2 on a board and go foiling in the same amount of time it takes you to put a normal mast on.
Okay.
So we tried to keep everything as fiddly and as hassle-free as possible. So
And then everything fits into one of these cases here?
yeah, most of these will be empty because everyone's taking them.
Yeah.
But it comes in a nice reusable case. It's not plastic and foamy, it's in an actual reusable case. And then normally the unit and the nose cone go here. So here's the unit here. Comes all ready to go. And then there's a long nose cone and a short nose cone. Comes with a series of tools, a battery charger, your pod system, your propeller hub, which is normally all built together.
And this pod system is able to adapt to pretty much any kind of mast? Or
Any mast,
Okay.
yeah. It will fit any mast that's out there, and there's an instruction sheet how to put it together, but it's really quite simple. There's 2 inner sleeves, which are these things here, and they go together with the nose cone.
Yeah.
Goes around, and then there's a series of keys that slot into here that allow you to make adjustment, and then if you run out of adjustment, there's a longer nose cone.
Okay.
So there's quite a lot of levels of adjustment to make it fully universal,
Yeah.
and it works really well.
Nice.
Yeah.
What about airline travel with the lithium batteries? Are you able to check these in yet, or?
So
what's the
at
deal?
this event, we just released the travel batteries. They've been in the works for a little while, so the standard batteries you can't travel with, but the travel batteries are a battery system that unfortunately got stuck in the DHL postal system, annoyingly. But it looks like a normal battery, but it's made of 3 pieces in the case of the Max, the bigger unit, that physically pull apart. And then we also have a Gen 2 Slim, which looks like this, but it's just slimmer. A 2-piece battery. So you pull them apart, you can travel with them on the airplane.
It's legal size to travel.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice. That's helpful. And then what about battery life? Like, how long can you go on one battery?
I mean, that's like super hard to have a definitive answer because it depends on how you use it. But general rule of thumb is you put a max power on a board and you've got a reasonable wing. You're not trying to ride some tiny little high-speed wing. You can flat water foil, e-foil around for 45, 50 minutes. But I can then go and put a small surf wing on and go to my local surf break back home and I can get a 2-hour session because there's a lot of period of time which I'm not even using the motor. I'm riding a wave, pumping off, put the motor in, short little burst, go back out, link another one. So it's hard to say what the run time is because it totally depends on how you use it.
Right.
But
let's say if you use it as an e-foil motor, like basically e-foiling around, like how long can you go on flat water?
Typically about 45 minutes.
Okay.
And you'll see them doing it all day out.
Yeah.
Just around and around and around.
Yesterday.
I got a lightweight staff member. She only weighs 60 something kilos and she literally foils around for like an hour and a half and comes in with plenty of battery.
Wow.
Because she's so light. So I'm heavy, so I burn through it quicker.
And your handheld remote, does it kind of give you an indication of how much you have left, battery charge you have left?
Yeah, it's handheld remote.
Yeah.
Super slim, very light, and you can actually paddle with this in your hand as well, which just can be useful sometimes. But it gives you battery readout and your motor power and your RPM and power consumption and temperature and plenty of things to look at.
Yeah.
You don't really spend much time looking at it though because it's so intuitive to just.
Yeah.
And there's a cruise control function where you can triple press it and it goes to a cruise control which you can set. So if you just want to chill on your board and just
have a steady
motor on out, nice and chill. So yeah, and it's.
So what about some technique tips for like getting started for people that are trying it for the first time? Like what's the easiest way to get up on foil and so on? Yeah.
I think the biggest single thing I see constantly that needs people to they need to understand is people get too far back on the board and they give throttle and then they get the board on a pitch angle and they just plow through the water. And then it's normally followed by the complaint of this thing doesn't have enough power. Well, it does. It's just if you're running the wing on a high angle of attack, just pushing water, the wing's not working. So what you want to do is get a little bit further forward on the board, put the power on progressively and get it moving and just wait. Don't try and climb to your knees straight away because that pitches the board back down again. Let the board actually start moving and skipping along the top of the water and keep the board flat. If the board is flat, the wing is flat. The wing will not generate lift if it's not flat and doesn't have enough forward speed.
Right.
If you don't have enough forward speed and it's not flat and you're doing this,
it's a stall.
Really, you're just in a stall. So it's never going to happen.
Right.
So that's the biggest single tip is wait a little longer, build your speed, keep the board flat, and you pretty much can't go wrong.
And then basically when you're flat, then you just do like a little pop-up but keep it level to the water surface still, right?
Yeah, so you climb to your knees, keep the board flat again, don't let it come up, stand up, lean into it. And then when you're ready to come off the water, a lot of people initially when they're learning are trying to sort of like reef the board out. You don't need to do that. If the board's got forward momentum, all you have to do to get out of the water and start foiling is just a very subtle pitch or foot pressure. The board will change attitude, the wing will change attitude, and it just literally flies up and out of the water.
Right.
So, like, do less.
Right.
Is my common comment to new foilers. Is just like, you're doing way too much. Just relax, build your speed, a little subtle pitch change, and you'll just come up out of the water and it'll be super smooth. Yeah, too many people try and like aggressively change the pitch and it's totally unnecessary.
And then to transition from motor power to foil, non-motored, you just kind of get up higher on the foil, I guess.
Exactly the same process.
Let your hand off the throttle.
Just build your speed, deliberately pop it up, dump the throttle, and you'll just come up and glide out of the water. And it's actually really easy once you get a few sessions and get your head around it. It's quite natural.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then in terms of pricing, like how much what's the retail price on a complete system?
Depends on where you are in the world a little bit.
Yeah,
But,
in the US.
in the US, typically, so there's multiple systems, but the biggest battery, the most powerful unit, the max power, is about 5,000 US. You'll have to forgive me if it's not 100% correct, because Travis is the global sales manager and he knows all the regional pricing, but it's roughly around that dollar value for a retail system. And it goes down from there if you want a smaller battery or the smaller unit by a few $100s.
What would you recommend? Like, do you think like for the average user, is the Max system the best one to get the biggest battery? Or
I think it's proving to be the most popular by quite a margin. The slim unit really is for super high performance foilers that are like elite athletes. The Max Power is the number one seller by miles. It just gives you the most runtime, the longest range, the most power, but this unit is by far the lightest, most powerful, most energy dense assist system in the world. So you kind of get all that power and runtime, but it's not a heavy unit. It's very, very lightweight and energy dense. So that would be my recommendation.
Okay. Anything else you want to add?
Yeah, we'll be releasing some other little bits and pieces at the show. We've obviously shown you the V2 motor with the removable cable. We've also got the new hands-free remote system. So we showed you the conventional remote before,
yeah,
but we now have the hands-free remote system coming, hopefully late Q4, where the unit actually sticks to the board. This is removable, comes out of the cradle. But that's stuck to the surface of the board. Obviously this board's upside down, but you push that in there. And then you can press whatever power mode you want, but you wear this necklace and you're paddling. And then when you stand up to get from your belly to your feet to take off, the magnet system releases, and you can set a timer in to the millisecond of how long that shutdown period is from motor shut off to you standing up, because everyone has a different cadence of how quickly they can stand to their feet. And then when that's shut off, the motor turns off automatically, and then you can free foil. And then the same.
So that's great for downwinding or catching a wave or whatever. Yeah.
It's really for like performance prone foiling, where people really want to preserve that natural cadence and feeling of paddling.
And not having a remote in your hand.
Yeah. So
okay.
you literally have nothing in your hands.
Right.
So I use it when I'm prone foiling back in Australia on little tiny small boards where I want to duck dive under waves, I want to be able to paddle, I want to be able to push up from the board without anything in the way.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. But then you can also attach other dependencies to the front of it, and then you can mount that on a wingding, and you can hold your wingding wherever you want, and you can just tap the button and have whatever throttle setting you program. So it's really ergonomic for wingers who are trying to use Foildrive. They don't have to try and hold a remote and a wing, if that makes sense.
Right.
So
that you just attach that to your handle or something like that.
Yeah, and it's got a little
cool.
zip tie on, and then we've also got.
But obviously, you would need a longer cable than this, right, to go from your board to the wingding.
No. So this doesn't need to be on the board.
Oh, so this can attach to your wingding.
So you can take that off, put straps through here.
Oh, okay.
You strap it to the back of your wingding somewhere where you don't need it.
Right.
And then you put the controller where
your hands are.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I get it. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So, and other little knickknacks. We've got like a titanium alloy bolt range coming for the Gen 2. There's lots of people are leaving their units fully connected on the board. They never take it off. That's all they want to do. It's just Foildrive. So it's just a nice little touches to be able to have metals all connected for long periods of time.
Yeah, I guess that's another issue with electronics in salt water. Like how do you prevent corrosion, and like what do you have to do to service it to prevent it from getting corrosion?
Well, the entire unit is, as I said, billet machined alloy that's been anodized. So they don't. As long as you just wash it down. If you're in salt water, just hose it down with fresh water after each use, and just get the salt off it. That's all you really need to do.
So salt doesn't really get inside the motor, inside the driver?
Well, salt doesn't get inside the unit, it's watertight.
Right.
Even if it does, the unit's fully potted. and all the electronics are waterproof. So we've had people forget to put their nose cone on and literally go and use the motor, the whole system in the water, and they didn't know any different. It still ran perfectly fine. I wouldn't recommend it.
Right.
But the whole unit is waterproof.
Yeah.
But really, you just want to like remove the rotor, which just magnetically held on. Wash it with some fresh water. Wash it with some fresh water. We sometimes recommend, if you're really in salty environments, just a little bit of spray of some lanolin or some, like, I don't know what you guys call it here in America, but we call it WD-40 in Australia.
Same.
Same. There you go.
Yeah.
Just a little, and it just puts a coating on the metal part,
Yeah.
because this is steel under here.
Okay.
But other than that, it's about it. Just wash it with fresh water, wash it out, dry it, and you're pretty much good to go.
Okay.
They really are a hard-wearing piece of kit.
Did I see you guys had some kind of propeller guard for safety, or did you have some,
Yeah, there's a propeller guard. It's like looks like a shroud that bolts onto the back if you want to use it. Good if you've got
So probably for lessons and stuff, that's a good idea to use.
lessons, and just if any young kids are mucking around or trying to play on it. It's just another level of added safety. It's not foolproof. Any system that's got propellers and whatnot, you still need to be vigilant. But yes, you can add an externally mounted propeller shroud for additional safety.
Okay. And then when you get a board like this made with that cutout, is it designed for the max battery, or like how do you set up the size of that? The cutout.
This trench can fit any Gen 2 system, whether it's slim or max.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter. I'm going to show you.
Let's maybe put one in. And see
Put
what
a
it looks
unit in
like.
there. Perfect one.
So you set that in here.
Just drops in, and then you can still move the whole unit in the tracks.
Right.
So this end is open to let the water, any water that comes over and then collapses in, just drains straight out.
Just reduces the drag, basically.
Correct.
So I guess something else to mention is that if you do use it without a trench, it adds some height to your mast, basically the battery unit, right? So what,
Correct.
Is that about 2 inches, 3 inches, something like that?
And it's 50 mil. I don't know what that is in inches, but
15 millimeters.
it's not a huge amount.
Right.
But it just sits on top of the board. Realistically, with Foildrive, it's so easy to get on foil. You're not really that worried about the board
The drag and
that
stuff.
much, because
Yeah.
you don't spend much time on the surface of the water. 90% of my session, I'm not even touching the water. I'm on foil. So the board choice still matters a little bit, but the board shape and all those considerations that people really get quite technical about is not so as important when you got the Gen 2 on there, because it's going to do all the work anyway.
Yeah.
So, but typically what makes a good Foildrive board is something that's reasonably flat. You don't want really, really short with lots and lots of rocker, because they tend to push water.
Right. Oh, sorry.
It didn't last very long.
Yeah.
Gone. So, yeah, flat boards with little rocker and a nice planing surface makes it really easy to get going.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
No worries.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully that's useful for the listeners. And
Thanks so much. Yeah.
You're very welcome.
Thanks, Paul. Yeah. Thanks
See
for
you next
watching.
year.
Aloha.